Good afternoon, everyone. So let us now start our session. Reshet, can you please lead the prayer?
All right, so before we start our class, let's have a prayer first. Dear Lord and Father of all, thank you for today. Thank you for ways in which you provide for us all. For your protection and love, we thank you. Help us to focus our hearts and minds now on what we are about to learn. Inspire us by your Holy Spirit as we listen and write. Guide us by your eternal light as we discover more about the world around us. We ask all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
So now let's continue the discussion for Group 2.
So good afternoon, everyone. Today we'll have the continuation of our discussion. But before that, may I have anyone from the class who can do a brief recap on what we discussed last time and where did we stop? So just tap the virtual hand button if you want to do the recap. So anyone? Okay, so may I just call on Ruby? Ruby, are you around? Okay, I may have D na lang. Sige, D.
Okay, so for the last meeting, we discussed about the our like three reasons why the Spaniards came in the Philippines, like the God, gold, and glory, as well as the Magellan's voyage. That's all.
Okay, thank you for that, D. So now let's continue our discussion on Magellan's voyage. So last meeting, we stopped at the Spaniards go to Cebu. So anyone who wants to read? Okay, may I have Micaela?
The Spaniards go to Cebu. April 7, 1521, Spaniards arrived at Cebu. Raha Humabon, king of Cebu, refused to meet Magellan, but King Colombo persuaded him. The Spaniard was impressed in wealth and culture of Cebuanos.
Thank you for that, Mika. So the Spaniards continued their voyage by going to Cebu, and then it was King Colombo who guided them here in Cebu, and so they arrived on April 7, 1521. At first, the king of Cebu, Raha Humabon, refused to meet Magellan, but King Colombo, who is a friend of Raha Humabon, persuaded him that Magellan and his men came as friends. And so then the Spaniards were allowed to land and become the guests of the Cebuanos. Also, the wealth and culture of the Cebuanos impressed the Spaniards very much. So Cebu was a booming town and it had trade relations with China, Thailand, the Moluccas, and also other barangays in the Philippines. And the Spaniards were very well treated here in Cebu. Next slide, please. And on April 14, 1521, so similar to Colombo and Magellan, King Humabon and Magellan also made a blood compact. So anyone who can tell me what was again the term for the traditional blood compact? Yes, D.
Sandu, Sandugo or Sandugo?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for that, D. So, King Humabon and Magellan again made a blood compact, or also known as the Sandugo. And after the blood compact, on the same day, April 14, 1521, there was a mass that was held on the shore in Cebu. So then, after the mass, Magellan planted a cross similar to what he did in Butuan. So he planted the Magellan's cross, which is located beside the what do you call this one? The Basilica. So dito rapod ay dito until now naara gihapon ang Magellan's cross. And next slide please. So, after the Mass, the Cebuanos were invited to convert to Christianity because again that one of the reason why Spaniards came here in our country is to spread the Roman Catholicism. And so the Cebuanos were the ones who were invited to convert to Christianity, and there were more than 800 Cebuanos including Raha Humabon, the king of Cebu, his wife and also his son agreed to be baptized. And that's why they became as the first Filipino Catholics here in the Philippines. And also, the queen was baptized as Queen Juana, and she was given a beautiful image of the child Jesus, Santo Niño, who is still the patron saint of Cebu City, which we celebrate every January. So, since there are still other Cebuanos who did not convert to Christianity, but after a miraculous cure happened on the king's brother, King Humabon's brother, didto na astonish ang mga Cebuanos, and then thousand more Cebuanos were kanang nagpa-convert na sila or napabaptize sila as Catholics because of the miracle that happened to Raha Humabon's brother. So, next slide please. So, who wants to read? Yes, Nietzsche.
Lapu-Lapu defeats Magellan. Magellan wanted all Filipino kings in Cebu and nearby islands to surrender to Spain, but there was one brave Filipino ruler who defied him.
Okay, so since Magellan wanted all Filipino kings in Cebu and other nearby islands to surrender to Spain, naay isa ka brave Filipino nga ni take stand against ani who can tell me kinsa to ang king nga ni defied ni Magellan. Yes, Patpat. May I just have Meryl? Who was the king nga ni defied ni Magellan?
I think it's Lapu-Lapu.
Exactly. So it was Lapu-Lapu, who is known as the brave Filipino ruler who defied Magellan. And so, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, may I call Christina to read?
King Zula, Mactan, asked Magellan for help in destroying Lapu-Lapu. Magellan agreed to help Zula for he also wanted to kill Lapu-Lapu.
Okay, so 'di ba, si Lapu-Lapu, he defied Magellan. And so one day, the other king of Mactan, si King Zula, he asked Magellan for help in destroying Lapu-Lapu because Zula and Lapu-Lapu were known to be bitter enemies. So ni siya help from Magellan, and so Magellan also agreed because he wanted to kill Lapu-Lapu. So next slide, please. Thank you. And so, on April 27, 1521, that's the time na happen ang Battle of Mactan. So, Magellan invaded Mactan and attacked Lapu-Lapu's kingdom together with his 60 men. So, the battle, next slide please. So, when Magellan invaded Mactan, he even boasted that to the Cebuanos that he did not need their help in fighting Lapu-Lapu. So he told the other Cebuanos to stay in their boats and watch the Spaniards beat the Philippines. So the Battle of Mactan was very short, but it was very bloody. And so in the end, Lapu-Lapu won. So Lapu-Lapu, during the fight, Lapu-Lapu and his warriors fought like lions. They fight for our land and our liberty. And so at this battle, it was Magellan and his men were beaten. And so that's why Lapu-Lapu was known as the. So who can tell me what is Lapu-Lapu known for? Yes, Chris. Okay, so just next slide, please. So Lapu-Lapu was known as the first Filipino hero because of the Battle of Mactan. Even though that it was not really Lapu-Lapu who killed Magellan, he was still known as the first Filipino hero. It's because he was the one who defended the freedom of the Philippines. That's why he deserves to live forever in the pages of our Philippine history. So also in his honor, Lapu-Lapu City in Mactan was named after him. Now, next slide, please. Okay, may I call Chris to read? Yes, Chris. May I just have Villahermosa?
The Spaniards go home. So the survivor returned to Cebu, but they lost face. The Spaniard also became abusive. Duarte Barbosa maltreated Enrique, a Malay slave of Magellan. So Enrique plotted with King Humabon to kill the Spaniards.
So after the Spaniards were defeated at Mactan, they then returned to Cebu and they lost face because the Cebuanos did not respect them anymore. And also after they were defeated, they became more abusive. So Duarte Barbosa, who is one of the new commanders of Spain, maltreated Enrique, who is a Malay slave of Magellan. And so Enrique he plotted with King Humabon to kill the Spaniards. So they planned something on how they will kill the Spaniards. So next slide, please. Okay, so on May 1, 1521, the plan of Humabon and Enrique were to invite the Spaniards on a feast day. And so while they were eating and drinking at the feast, these Spaniards were attacked by the Cebuanos. And then the survivors of the expedition or the Cebu massacre quickly left for the south. So after visiting Palawan, Brunei, Mindanao, and the Moluccas, they set sail for home. So next slide, please. So there are two among the five ships. There are only two that remains. Although um, one of the two remaining ships, the Trinidad, was in disrepair and stayed behind for an overhaul. It was later captured by the Portuguese and eventually sunk in a storm. So that left only the Victoria to sail around Africa's Cape Horn and head back along the west coast of Africa toward Europe. So on September 6, 1522, the Victoria reached the same Spanish harbor from which it had departed 3 years before. So um, it it was on September 6, 1522, when the Victoria, the only ship that remained or was able to go back to Spain with only 18 survivors. So to now may I give the virtual floor to Miss Elaine to continue the um, voyage of Magellan. Thank you.
Okay, so am I audible? So for the continuation of Erica's report, so here are the result of Magellan's voyage. First, we have it was the first voyage around the world by the sea. Second, it added to the knowledge about the geography and Europeans also discovered the Philippines and other new lands in Asia. The third reason is it made Spain interested in colonizing the Philippines. So in historical discovery, we have the famous first, or who was the first man to go around the world. Next slide, please. So these are the three men. We have Enrique de Malacca, Ferdinand Magellan, and Juan Sebastian Elcano. Next slide. So, another Spanish expedition. So, after ni Magellan, ang Spain kay nag-send pa sila og more expedition to Asia through the same westward road. From year 1525 to 1564, so we have here the 5 expeditions. Who wants to read? Okay, can I have Ruby?
The first one is the Loaiza expedition, 1525. The second one is the Cabot expedition, 1526. The third one is the Saavedra expedition, 1527. And the fourth one is Rudy Lopez de Villalobos, 1542. And the last one is the Legazpi expedition, 1564.
Thank you, Ruby. So that is the 5 expeditions, but only Legazpi expedition was successful and the other ended in failure. Next slide, please. So in Legazpi expedition, a Spanish naval voyage in 1564 that established a colony in the Philippines. So the expedition was led by Miguel Lopez de Legazpi and sailed from Port to Navidad in New Spain. So he also discovered the sea route from Asia to America. So in year 1564, the new Spanish king named Philip II ordered a new expedition to the Philippines. So he was the king to whom the Philippines was named. So this voyage, Schulter and Elder, so they command another expedition, and ang nag-lead gihapon kay si Miguel Lopez de Legazpi. So ang ihang expedition kay they have 4 ships and 380 men. And most of them are Mexicans. So in the year November 21 to 1564, the expedition of Legazpi was sailed from Navidad. Next slide, please. So, after passing through the Marinas, they reached the Philippines on February 3, 1565. So, they explored Samar, Leyte, and other islands in the Philippines. But they will be received at Limasawa, Leyte, and Bohol. So, pag-abot nila og Bohol, para sa gingon ni Erica ganihan, si Legazpi kay nakig-blood compact po siya ni King Katuna or si Katuna and King Gala or si Gala. Next slide. So, Cebu becomes the first Spanish city. Who wants to read? Okay, can I have Lakno?
April 27, 1565, Legazpi sailed to Cebu. Cebu, the first Spanish settlement in the Philippines, city of the most holy name of Jesus. Magellan to Queen Juana in 1521.
Okay, thank you, Lakno. So from Bohol, Legazpi sailed to Cebu and he arrived there on April 27, 1565. So Legazpi made Cebu the first Spanish settlement in the Philippines. So he also built a fort and a churches in what also the first Spanish outpost in Asia. So he named the town City of Most Holy Name of Jesus. Next slide, please. So this picture present, it is the city of the most holy name, and it was Queen in Moana. So it was the same statue given by Magellan to Queen Juana in year 1521. Next slide, please. Can I have Nietzsche to read?
Conquest of the other island. So 1569, Legazpi moved to Panay in Picao and Boreas, 6 soldiers.
So on because of the food shortage in the Cebu, Legazpi moved to Panay in the year 1569. So at the first, the Filipinos in Panay were very hostile to the Spaniards, but Legazpi and the Spaniard missionaries won them over by the wisdom and friendship. So Panay became the next Spanish military in the Philippines. So in 1569, Masbate, Ticao, and Burias were captured by the Spaniards. So they penetrated as far as Albay in Bicol region. So the Spanish priest was successfully in preaching Christianity that he keep the island peacefully with only 6 soldiers to help him. So in the year 1517, the Filipino Muslim or Moro villages, the forts of Mindoro and nearby islets of Ilim and Lubang were destroyed. And the fall of Mindoro brought the invaders closer to Manila. Next slide, please. So we have here the battle for Manila. Okay, can I have Bebe J?
The Battle for Manila. 2 battles in 1570 and 1571 to capture Manila. In 1570, Marshal Martin de Guete 120 Spaniards and 600 Visayan warriors. 1571, Spanish invasion of Manila.
Okay, thank you, Montemayor. So, the battle for Manila at that time, Manila was a rich Muslim kingdom. And the Spaniards decided to conquer this important outpost. So, it took them 2 battles in 1570 and 1571 to capture in Manila. So at the first, the Filipino Moro king of Manila is Raja Sulaiman resisted the Spanish invaders. So the first Spanish expedition to invade Manila was led by Marshal Martin de Goite, and he led 120 Spaniards and 60 Visayan warriors. Next slide. So in year 1571, so another Spanish invasion of Manila was personally led by Legazpi himself. So si Sulaiman, kay ganahan man siya makig-fight sa invaders again, but ang iyahang angkol nga si Lakandula of Tondo, giingnan siya nga makig-friends na lang kay dili na niya gani makaya na kanang mo sacrifice na sad og laing life sa Pilipino. So, si Sulaiman ug si Lakandula, they decided to accept the Spanish rule. However, some of the Filipino rulers of Hagonoy, Macabebe, and nearby barangays did not give easily. So, ang nahitabo, nakigmeet sila sa Navotas. Ilahang gi-attack ang foreigners. And then, ang nag-lead nila kay si Bambolito. Next slide. So, on June 23, 1571, since si Bambolito man ang nilid nila niya, ganing ni-attack sila ba nga wala sila nag-prepare. So, ang ending kay napildi gihapon sila. So, the Spaniards nga gilid ni Marshal maoy nakadaog sa battle. So na siya tulo ka reason nga nung ang Filipinos gani kay na natalo sila ato nga labanan. Una kay sila Kandula ug Sulaiman kay wala man nila tabangi ang Filipinos. And then ang Spaniards pod kay naaman sila yung mga weapons good, unlike sa kanang na may weapons ang mga Pinoy pero unlike gani sa mga Spaniards nga dinagkuay jud kaayo. And then naasay disiplina ang ilahang military. Next slide please. So about 600 Cebuano helped the Spaniards in the battle. About 500 Filipinos were taken prisoner that day. So after the battle, the Spaniards took to Manila. Okay. Next slide. Okay, so that's all for the continuation of Magellan's voyage. Let's proceed to the chapter 7. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Teacher Elaine. So, am I audible, everyone? May I see any reactions? Okay, thank you for that. So now, let's go to chapter 7. Our country as a colony of Spain. So next slide, please. Okay, who wants to read? May I call on Chris Aibo?
Philippines under Spanish regime. The Philippines was a colony of Spain for 333 years, year 1565 to 1898.
Okay, thank you for that. So, for 333 years, the Philippines was ruled by Spain, and this happened from 1565 to 1898. And basically, Spain controlled the Philippines and making decision and running things for over 333 years. So next slide. So how did the Spanish official rule our country? And what changes did Spain make to the Philippine government, and how did the Filipino react to the Spanish rule? So in this chapter, we will understand more of the Filipino attitude to government, which we inherited from the Spanish era in our country. And later, we will study why the Filipinos revolted against the Spanish colonial masters. So next slide, please. Okay, someone read. Okay, Generous Doro.
Central government under Spain. Spain established one central government in the Philippines. Thus, for the first time in our history, we became united as one nation called Philippines.
Okay, thank you for that. So before the Spanish arrived, the Philippines was not a single country. Instead, it was made up of many small barangays, and each ruled by different leaders. So these barangays were independent from each other, meaning they had their own way of governing, making laws, and managing their communities. So when Spain colonized the Philippines in 1565, they took control and removed the independence of these barangays. Instead of allowing local leaders to rule, they established one central government that controlled the entire country, and this meant that all major decisions, laws, and leadership came from the Spanish officials, and particularly the Governor General, who was the highest Spanish leader in the Philippines. So, because of this system, the Philippines was united as one colony under Spain, and it was no longer just a collection of small independent communities, but a single territory under Spanish rule. So the Spaniards named this colony Filipinas, which eventually became the Philippines. So from that point, the world starting to recognize the country by this name, and this change had a huge impact on the Filipino people. While it broke organization, and introduced new systems. And it also took away the freedom of the locals. And Filipinos had no control over their government, and they were forced to follow Spanish laws and leadership. So over time, this led to resentment and revolts as Filipino fought to regain their independence. So next slide. So now the Philippine territory in Spanish time. So can someone read Suntosidad?
Would I read the whole bullet, Miss?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Philippine territory in Spanish time. Philippine territory was very different during the Spanish times. These differences in the territory ruled by the central government then were as follows. First, the island archipelagos of Guam, the Marianas, the Carolines, and the Palaos in the South Pacific were included in the Philippine territory during the Spanish times. Most of Mindanao and Sulu were excluded. Spain claimed sovereignty, supreme power over them, but only a few coastal areas were really under its control then. Interior mountain regions of Luzon and Visayas were also excluded. They were not colonized by Spanish, so the tribes in the highlands region, Ifugaos, Igorots, remained independent like Moros.
Okay, thank you for that. So, during the Spanish colonization, the Philippine territory was different from what it is today. So first is some islands that are no longer part of the Philippines were once included. So Spain ruled over Guam, the Marianas, and the Carolines, and the Palaus, which are islands in the Pacific Ocean. And these islands were considered part of the Philippines during Spanish rule, but are now separate countries or territories. Second is some areas within the Philippines were not fully controlled by Spain. So in Mindanao and Sulu, Spain claimed to have power, but they only controlled some coastal areas. And the Muslim Filipino, or what we called Moros, are resisted and were never fully conquered by Spain. And third, some mountain regions remained independent. So the highland tribes in Luzon and Visayas, such as the Ifugaos and Igorots, were not colonized by Spain. So just like the Moros, they remained independent and were not ruled by the Spanish government. So in short, Spain controlled the Philippines, but some areas like Mindanao, Sulu, and the mountains of Luzon and Visayas remained free. And some islands in the Pacific were once part of the Philippines but are now separate. So next slide. Okay, so this chart shows the Spanish colonial government in the Philippines, which followed a monarchical system under Spain. So first is in the upper part, we have here the King of Spain. So this is the highest authority who ruled over Spain and its colonies, including the Philippines. And he made decision but relied on advisor and official to govern distant lands. Next is the Council of the Indies. So, a governing body in Spain that advised the king and helped manage Spain colonies. And it created laws and policies for Spanish territories, including the Philippines. Next is the Spanish Viceroy in Mexico. So, since the Philippines was ruled as part of the New Spain or Mexico, the Viceroy in Mexico supervised the colony before reporting to Spain. However, he had a little direct influence in the Philippines. So, next is the Spanish Governor General in Manila. So, this is the highest ranking Spanish official in the Philippines. And he enforced laws, collected taxes, and controlled the military. And he had power over other government officials. Next is the Royal Audiencia. So, a court system that helped check the power of the Governor General. And it handled legal matters and ensured justice in the colony. Next is the local government official. So we have here the provincial alcaldes, mayor. So these are the governors in charge of provinces. the city alcaldes, the mayor who managed towns and cities, and gobernadorcillos, leaders of smaller towns or municipalities, and the cabezas de barangay, the leaders of the barangay or the smallest community units. And we have here the religious influence, the Spanish archbishop or the head of the Catholic Church in the Philippines, and the bishop and parish priest, the one who controlled religious matters and influenced governance, and the church and state who work closely with the priest, often having a political power. So to summary, the Philippine was ruled by the Spanish king, but the governor general was in the charge locally. So the church had a strong influence in governance, and the local leaders like the alcaldes, gobernadorcillos, and the cabeza de barangay helped manage smaller areas. So this system ensured that Spain controlled the Philippines through both government and religion. So next slide. So we have here the laws. So the laws of the Philippines were made by the Spaniards, and most of these laws were for the benefit of Spain and the Spaniards, not the Filipinos. So when Spain ruled the Philippines, they created laws mainly to benefit Spain and the Spaniards, not for the Filipinos. However, some laws were good, and especially those based on Christian beliefs, like for example, the slavery and human sacrifices were stopped in year 1589, and most of the important laws were collected in the legal book called the Law of the Indies. And sometimes the Spanish king would issue special orders that had the same power as laws. And other laws created by the Spaniard covered topics like crime and punishment or penal law, rules for business or the code of commerce, civil laws, and the copyright laws. So next slide. Next is the local government. So, Spain formed the origin of our present system of local government, and the country was divided into provinces with towns and cities. So, the cities had their own government called ayuntamiento, and the city council known as cabildo, and was headed by the mayor alcalde. So, these are the Spanish cities. So, as you can see in the screen, so during the Spanish rule, they introduced the local government system that we will use today. So the country was divided into provinces, and each province had towns and cities. And the cities had their own government called ayuntamiento. And the city council called cabildo was led by a mayor known as alcalde. So some of the important cities during Spanish times were Manila, Cebu, Naga, Caceres, Vigan, and others. And in provinces, next slide. So these are the provinces. So were made up of towns and barangays. So there were 19 provinces at that time, including Manila, Albay, Batangas, Pampanga, and Ilocos Norte. And each province was ruled by a Spanish official called Alcalde Mayor, who was appointed by the Governor General, the highest Spanish official in the Philippines. And this system helped Spain control the country by organizing the area into smaller divisions with assigned leaders. So next slide. Next slide. Okay, can I have someone to read? May I call on Abigail?
Government's debt. Government's debt since the beginning of the Spanish rule, the colonial government in the Philippines suffered debt year in and year out. So government debts were due to two reasons. First, government officials were dishonest and engaged in graft and corporations. Second, the ordinary people lacked cooperation and loyalty to the state.
Okay, thank you for that. So, next slide. So now let's move on to the Spanish population. So early in 17th century, there were only about 2,000 Spaniards in the Philippines. And of those, 400 were missionaries, the rest were soldiers and official. And in the 19th century, the Spanish residents numbered a little of over 4,000 until the end of the Spanish rule, and the Spanish population was relatively small. So, during Spanish rule, only a small number of Spaniards live in the Philippines. One reason for this was that the colony was far from Spain and Mexico, making it difficult to manage and not very profitable. So as a result, it did not attract many Spanish settlers in the early 17th century, and there were only about 2,000 Spaniards in the country, with 400 being missionaries, while the rest were soldiers and government officials. So by 19th century, the Spanish population had slightly increased to a little over 4,000, but it remained small. So most Spaniards live in cities where they work as officials, soldiers, and merchants. So in rural areas and remote towns, the only Spaniard present were missionaries who lived among the native Filipino. Even until the end of Spanish rule, the Spanish populations never grow significantly. So next slide. So as you can see in the screen, so these are the Filipino population. So during the Spanish era, the Filipino population grew slowly and did not experience a sudden increase. And in year 1565, the population was around 500,000, and by year 1896, it had grown to 6.2 million. However, this growth happened gradually over more than 300 years. And there were also times when the population decreased, especially in the 17th century. So one major reason for this was the Dutch naval attacks on the Philippines. So these battles led to the death of many Filipinos, while others fled to the mountains to escape the violence, leaving towns and cities abandoned. So when comparing the Filipino and Spanish population, it is clear that Filipino always outnumbered the Spaniards. And despite this, the Spaniards managed to control the country for over 300 years. And this raises the question, what was the secret behind the Spanish power? So to continue, may I call on Teacher Graciel?
So thank you for that, Miss Val. So now, next slide, please. So let's talk about Christianity and that keep us being a colony to the Spanish is because of Christianity. So the secret behind the power of the Spanish was not the sword, but the cross. So the Filipinos were attracted to Christianity because of three reasons. So can somebody from the class read? Yes, Pacaldo?
Should I read the number one or all?
You can read all.
The Filipinos were attracted to Christianity because of three reasons. Number one, God so loved the world that he gave his beloved Son, so that those who believe in him, Jesus Christ, will be saved and have everlasting life, from John chapter 3, verse 16. Number two, its message about God's love and the brotherhood stopped the old barangay feuds. It gave our people a better way of life. Number three, the success of Spanish colonization was due largely to the early missionaries in the 16th and 17th centuries.
So thank you for that. So for the first reason, this message appealed to the Filipino, it became the good news to our people and believe that they are safe. And for the second reason, by the message of God, it stops or reduces the fights of our people. It reduces usury, drinking, and swearing. And it also banned killing of children, humans and animal sacrifices, and other brutal practices. So it discourages divorce, polygamy, adultery, and live-ins before marriage. And for the last reason, These missionaries helped the soldiers in the conquest and pacification of the Philippines. And the missionaries not only preach the gospel, but they are also the pioneers of the Western civilization. So next slide, please. So as you can see, they brought the new European arts, sciences, education, literature, and music to our shores. So they built schools, college, universities, printing presses, libraries, hospitals, and orphanages. So they introduced new plants and animals from Mexico and Europe. They taught our people new industries like making colored dyes, bricks, and stone houses. And they wrote the first histories, grammars, dictionaries, and maps. And they constructed the first roads, bridges, forts, irrigation system, and public works. So these are what the missionaries taught to our people back then. Next slide, please. So the church organization. So the church was organized alongside the government. So the highest leader was the Archbishop of Manila. He is chosen by the Pope with the advice from the Spanish king. And below him were bishops who managed dioceses, so meaning groups of parishes. And under them were parish priests who lead town churches. So Manila first had a bishop in 1578, who is Monsignor Domingo de Salazar, who protected Filipinos from the Spanish officials' abuses. So in 1595, Manila became an archbishopric, meaning it had an archbishop as its leaders. So at that time, there were no cardinals in the country. And the first missionaries in the Philippines were from different religious groups, including the Augustinians, Franciscans, Jesuits, Dominicans, Recolletos, and Benedicts. Next slide, please. So the power of the church. So during the Spanish rule, Catholicism was the only allowed religion. So this system called the union of church and state. So it gave the church strong control over the government. So church leaders like archbishops, bishops, and priests were paid by the government. So kani sila, sulduan sila sa gobyerno. So the government also funded churches, schools, and charities run by religious groups. Until 1764, archbishops who could even act as temporary governor generals. So one example is Archbishop Manuel Rojo, who led the country during the British invasion in 1762 to 1764. And in towns, the parish priest had a great power. So he represented the Spanish king, supervised tax collection, elections, schools, and official records. So people feared and obeyed him, treating him with great respect. So because of this, a single Spanish friar was seen as powerful as an entire army. Next slide, please. So as you can see in the screen, so this is the power of Spanish priests during the Spanish era. So sila tig-preach sa gospel, sila tig-collect sa tax, sila tig-inspect sa inig election, sila tig-enforce og law, sila tig-register sa kinsay nabuhi, kinsay kasal, o kinsay nangamatay. And they're also the confessor. So meaning, dako ujud kay sanan og power ang mga pari sa una. Next slide, please. So the only Christian nation in Asia. So Spain wanted to build an empire in Asia, starting with the Philippines. But Spain failed to expand its rule. So unlike other Asian countries, which follow religions like Buddhism, Confucianism, Hinduism, Islam, and Shinto, the Philippines became the only Christian nation in the region. Next slide, please. And why Spain kept the Philippines? So Spain almost left the Philippines many times because it was costly and did not bring profit. However, the Spanish kings decided to keep the colony because they believed it was their duty to spread Christianity. So dugay kita sa na-colonize sa taga Spain kay usa ka dahong rason kay tungod ang Kristyanismo. So Queen Isabel I Will in 1504 reminded Spain of this mission. So her grandson, King Philip II, also insists on keeping the Philippines, saying he would spend wealth from the Indies to convert Filipinos. So dili niya biyaan dyan ang Pilipinas. Later, in 1619, King Philip III was advised to abandon the colony, but a priest named Father Hernando Moraga traveled to Spain and begged him to stay. So the king was moved by his plea and promised not to give the Philippines. And again, in 1621, Spain considered giving up the colony or trading it for Brazil. But another advisor, which is Father Hernando de los Rios Coronel, convinced King Philip IV to keep it for the glory and honor of God. So, tanan nilang rason kay connected yun siya sa Christianity. And because of this, Spain ruled the Philippines for a long time, and most Filipinos became Catholic. And that would be all for the chapter 7. Next slide, please. I will now give the floor to the next.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am audible. All right, so now let us proceed to chapter 8, the Filipino services to Spain. So in this chapter, we will learn or we will know the contributions of Filipinos to the Spanish rule. So next slide, please. All right, thank you so much. So can someone read the first two bullets? Yes, Miss Saldoa.
Okay, so the overview of Filipino contribution to Spanish rule. First bullet, Filipinos helped the Spanish rule the Philippines for over 300 years. Second, without Filipino support, Spain could not have maintained its Asian stronghold.
All right, thank you so much. So Filipinos held the Spanish rule in the Philippines for over 300 years. So Spain was a distant colonial power, and maintaining rule in the Philippines required local cooperation for governance, labor, and military support. That's why Spanish relied heavily on Filipino support. So without it, they could not have established the Philippines as their base in Asia. So next is Spaniards took the best resources, including the homes, lands, and jobs. So Filipinos forced to follow Spanish decisions without having a say. So Spanish colonizers treated the Filipinos as second-class citizens, so reserving privileges for themselves while Filipinos did most of the hard labor. So Filipinos had to follow orders and were not united or enlightened enough to break away until the 19th century. So under the Spanish rule, Filipinos learned endurance and services even under harsh conditions similar to the Israelites' plight in Egypt. So Filipinos' prolonged suffering under Spanish colonization shaped the resilience and ability to endure hardship much like other colonized nations. So next slide, please. For a while. All right, so why did the Filipinos serve the Spain? So we have here 3 reasons. So who wants to? Yes, Miss Layasan. First,
Number one, so lack of unity. So Filipinos were not united as a nation. Spanish tactics of divide and conquer set tribes against each other.
all right, thank you so much. So the first reason is the lack of unity because Filipinos did not view themselves as a unified nation, which allowed the Spanish to manipulate divisions between tribes, like the Visayans against the Tagalogs or the Christians against the Muslims. So the Spanish prevented the formation of a collaborative resistance against colonization. So the second reason, so wants to read. Yes, Miss Dungog.
Religious influence. The Spanish converted many Filipinos to Roman Catholicism.
All right, thank you so much. So the Spanish converted many Filipinos to Roman Catholicism, which included teachings loyalty to Spanish authorities, which are the officials and the priests. So aligning them to against Muslims and other colonial rivals. So religion was used as a tool to maintain control, as religious leaders often held significant influence over the communities. So for the last reason, who wants to read? Yes, Miss Kilario.
Rewards and honors. Loyal Filipinos received rewards, however, those who disobeyed were punished or killed.
All right, thank you so much. So we have your rewards and honors. So loyal Filipinos receive rewards such as government positions and military honors. However, those who disobeyed were punished and killed. Next slide, please. Excuse me, everyone. Is it okay ba daw na mo extend gamay? Continue. So loyal Filipinos could become, so as what I have said earlier, so if loyal Filipinos receive rewards, so loyal Filipinos could become gobernadorcillos or little governors or cabezas de barangay or barangay chiefs. So Francisco Laksamana, or the Master of Camp, is a loyal Filipino who received the highest military honor from Spain. So he was appointed military commander of Fort Santiago for a day or 24 hours as a reward for suppressing the Third Chinese Revolt in 1662. So next slide, please. All right, sorry for that, everyone. So now, so how did the Filipinos serve the Spain? So we have 10 reasons. So can someone read the first 5 reasons? Yes, Miss Talibutab.
Filipinos provided food for the Spaniards.
Please continue until number 5.
All right. Okay. Filipinos work in the industries owned by the Spaniards. Third is Filipinos fought on the side of Spain against Portugal. Fourth is Filipinos joined the military expeditions to Borneo and the Moluccas. And fifth is Filipinos fought on the side of Spain against Dutch and British.
All right, so next slide, please. So for the 6th to 10th reason, so wants to read? Yes, Miss Atienza.
So for number 6, Filipinos joined the expeditions to Indochina. 7, Filipinos joined the expedition to Taiwan. Filipinos helped to colonize the Marianas, Palaos, and Caroline Islands. Number 9, Filipinos helped put down the Chinese revolts and to stop the invasion of Lim Ahung. And number 10, Christian Filipinos fought with Spain against the Filipino Muslims or Moros.
All right, thank you so much. And next slide, please. All right. So the first reason is Filipinos provided food for the Spaniards or Filipinos as farmers. So who wants to read the Yes, Miss Lakno, kindly read all the bullets.
Not all Philippine land was taken by the Spaniards. Wealthy Filipinos owned much of the land. Filipinos did most of the agricultural work. Spaniards viewed manual labor as shameful. Spaniards relied on Filipinos for food and livestock.
Yes, thank you so much. So during the Spanish colonization, not all lands was taken by the Spaniards. So many wealthy Filipinos still owned land. So however, even on the Spanish-owned farms, Filipinos gihapon ang mudu sa farming. It's because that Spaniards thought that ang manual work kuno is shameful or kanang beneath sa ilaha, so ma-degrade sila if kanang mubuhat sila, they buhaton nila ang manual work. So that's why they avoided jobs like kanang farming, cleaning, or kanang bisan unsa nga heavy work. So Filipinos grew food and raised animals, ensuring that the Spanish officials, the priests, soldiers, civilians, had enough to eat. So basically, Filipinos' hard work in agriculture kept the Spanish community in the Philippines from starving. So that is the role of Filipinos as a farmer. So next slide, please. All right. So the second reason is Filipinos work in industries owned by the owned by the Spaniards or Filipinos in industries. So can someone read all the bullets? Yes, Miss Pangiran.
Filipinos were skilled in building ships for the Spaniards during the colonial period. They constructed galleons used in the thriving Manila Acapulco trade route and shipyards established in Cavite, Albay, Camarines, Marinduque, Masbate, and Mindoro.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Mangiran. So Filipinos were talented at building ships during the Spanish rule. So they made large trading ships and warships using local wood. So their expertise in woodworking and maritime construction made them valuable assets to Spanish colonizers who needed the sturdy ships for trade and exploration. So the shipyards were in places like the Cavite, Albay, Camarines, Marinduque, Masbate, and Mindoro. So the ships they built were strong and well made, helping the Spanish with trade and defense. So next slide, please. All right, thank you so much. So the third reason is Filipinos fought on the side of Spain against Portugal or Filipinos in the Portuguese Wars. So can someone read all the bullets? Yes, Mr. Tampos.
The Portuguese attacked Spanish settlements in Cebu in 1568 and 1570. The attacks were led by the Portuguese governor from Moluccas. Raja Topas and his Cebuano warriors sided with the Spaniards.
Okay, thank you so much. So when the Portuguese tried to take over the Spanish settlements in Cebu, the local leader Raja Tupas and his warriors helped the Spaniards fight back. So nikampi sila sa the local leader Raja Tupas nikampi sa Spaniards is because their support was crucial. With without it, ang Portuguese kuno might have succeeded in the making the Philippines nga mahimo na sang Portuguese colony instead of the Spain one. So that is the reason why the Filipinos nikampi sa Spaniards. So next slide, please. Okay, thank you so much. So we have here the next is Filipinos joined the military expeditions to Borneo and the Moluccas, or Filipinos in the expedition to Borneo and the Moluccas. So can someone read the yes, Miss Suntosidad?
Okay, Filipinos in the expedition to Borneo and the Moluccas. In March 1578, Filipinos helped Sultan Sirelela reclaim his throne from his brother. 1,500 Filipinos, 400 Spaniards, and 300 Bornean warriors. Filipinos joined Spanish expedition to capture the Moluccas Spice Islands.
Okay, thank you so much. So in 1578, a conflict for the throne of Brunei arose between Sultan Serela known as I mean Sultan Sirela known as Serela and his brother. So Sultan Serela sought assistance from the Spaniards and their Filipino allies to regain his position as a ruler of Brunei. So the military expedition to support Sultan Serela was composed of a diverse force, including the 1,500 Filipinos warriors, the 400 Spanish soldiers, and the 300 Bornean warriors. So the significant number of Filipino fighters demonstrates their involvement in Spanish military campaign during the colonial period. So the Filipinos also took part in Spanish expeditions aimed at capturing the Moluccas or the Spice Islands. But this mission did not succeed. So Filipinos helped the Spanish to restore this to restore Serela to power the Brunei by fighting bravery. So they also joined expedition to Moluccas, and but as what I have said, these missions to take over the Moluccas or the Spice Islands did not succeed. So next slide, please. All right, thank you so much. So now I will give the virtual floor to Miss Bardon.
All right, thank you so much for that, Miss Jenebeth. Now let's move on to the Filipinos in the Dutch Wars. Now, who wants to read all the bullets? Yes, Kathleen.
Filipinos in the Dutch Wars. First bullet, Dutch naval attacks, 16-0, and then 1747 attempted to colonize the Philippines by defeating the Spaniards. Second bullet, 1621 to 1622, British and Dutch ships blockaded Manila but failed. Third bullet, Filipinos remained loyal to Spain and Catholicism against the Protestant Dutch and British.
All right, thank you so much for that. So from 1600s to 1747, the Dutch attempted to colonize the Philippines by defeating the Spaniards. They first blockaded Manila Bay and later allied with the British to blockade Manila from 1621 to 1622. So when this failed, they landed troops in Cavite and Abucay to harass the coastal areas and tried to befriend Filipinos. However, the Filipinos remained loyal to Spain and Catholicism, resisting the Dutch and the British influence. So next slide, please. Alright, so now we have the results of the Dutch War. So who wants to read? Yes, Chris.
The results of the Dutch wars were as follows. Victory of the Spaniards against the Dutch. The Filipinos suffered tremendously. The Philippine economy stagnated.
All right, so the Dutch wars in the Philippines resulted in a Spanish victory, ensuring the continued Spanish rule with the support of the Filipinos. However, the conflict led to significant suffering, including the population decline, as many Filipinos were killed or forced to flee. So the economy also stagnated as trade were disrupted and people abandoned their livelihoods to either fight or escaped the war. So next slide, please. Miss Itorma, you can turn on your mic na. All right, so we have here the highlights of the Dutch Wars. Who wants to read the slide? Yes, Kyle?
Highlights of the Dutch Wars. Massacre of Abukay, 1647. Around 400 Filipinos died defending Abukay from Dutch invaders. La Naval de Manila, 1646. Filipinos and Spaniards won an 8-month naval battle against the Dutch on October 4, 1646, and Nuestra Señora del Rosario, the Spanish fleet's patroness. The victory is still celebrated in Manila every October.
All right, so first we have the massacre of Abukay in 1647. So Dutch forces attacked the town of Abukay in Bataan. So Filipino defenders bravely resisted, but the Dutch overpowered them, killing around 400 people. So this massacre was one of the bloodiest events during the Dutch invasions. So second, we have the La Naval de Manila in 1646. So the Dutch launched a major naval attack on Manila, leading to an intense 8-month battle at the sea. So on October 4, 1646, the combined Spanish and Filipino forces successfully defended Manila, preventing from Dutch control over the Philippines. And then we have the Nuestra Señora del Rosario. So the Spanish fleet dedicated their fight to Our Lady of the Rosary, or the Nuestra Señora del Rosario. So they believe that she helped them to win the battle. So this victory led to the annual celebration of La Naval de Manila, which is still observed in every October. So next slide, please. So now let's move on to Filipinos in Indochina. Now, who wants to read all the bullets? Yes, Desiree?
Filipinos in Indochina. Filipino soldiers helped France colonize Indochina in 1858 until 1863. About 1,500 Filipinos were sent by Spain to assist its ally, which is the France, and it also praised for their fighting skills by Spanish and French commanders. And lastly, many Filipinos settled in Vietnam, marrying locals and raising families.
All right, so thank you. So Filipinos played a significant role in the colonial efforts of Spain and its allies in Southeast Asia. So in Indochina, specifically in Vietnam, around 1,500 Filipino soldiers were sent by Spain between 1858 and 1863 to assist France in conquering Vietnam. So their combat skills were highly praised by both Spanish and French commanders. So many Filipinos remained in Vietnam after the war, marrying Vietnamese women and starting families, contributing to the Filipino presence in the region. So next slide, please. All right, so on the previous slide, can I see the previous slide? All right, so next slide, please. We have the Filipinos in the Marianas, Palaos, and Caroline. So who wants to read the slide? Yes, Charivi.
Filipinos in the Marianas, Palaos, and Carolines. These Pacific Island groups were under Spanish rule, governed from Manila and Cebu. Filipinos helped Spain colonize and spread Catholicism in these islands. Many Filipino migrated to Guam, settled there, and married local women. Filipino soldiers excelled in maintaining a Spanish control and suppressing revolts.
All right, so thank you so much. So the Marianas, Palaos, and Carolines are archipelagos in the Pacific Ocean near Mindanao. So during the Spanish era, they were ruled by the Spanish governor in Manila and the Spanish Bishop of Cebu. So the Filipinos helped the Spaniards to make these islands as a colony and a Catholic area. So many Filipinos went to Guam to settle down permanently in that island. So in time, these Filipino immigrants married to women and raised families there. So Filipino soldiers also helped uh, to man the Spanish garrisons and to put down revolts of the local people. So next slide, please. All right, so we have the Filipinos against the Chinese. So who wants to read the slide? Yes, Jessa.
Filipinos against the Chinese. Chinese contribution, skilled artists and tradesmen vital to the Philippine economy during the Spanish era. 5 Chinese revolts took place in 1603, 1639, 1667, 1686, and 1762 due to harsh Spanish treatment, and reason for revolts, discrimination, and oppression by Spanish rulers lead to Chinese rebellions.
All right. So the Chinese were valued in the Philippines during the Spanish era for their skills in trade and craftsmanship, contributing significantly to the economy. However, the Chinese revolted 5 times during the Spanish era in 1603, 1639, 1667, 1686, and 1762. So the causes again are of these revolts were the bad treatment of the Chinese by the Spanish rule. So next slide, please. So on the next slide, here are some of the Spanish abuses against the Chinese. So we have 5. So the first one is the Chinese were forced to pay heavy taxes. So the Chinese were subjected to substantial taxes, including a mandatory annual fee of 8 pesos. So second, the Chinese or all the Chinese were forced to live in the Parian or the Chinatown outside the city walls. So Spanish authorities expelled Chinese residents from Manila's walled city, relocating them to the Parian, which is a swampy area on the northeast of the city walls. So the third one, the Chinese were ordered to cut off their long hair. So Spanish authorities enforced the cutting of the traditional long hair of the Chinese men, symbolizing a demand for cultural assimilation and control. So the fourth one, many Chinese were deported to reduce their population. So to manage the growing Chinese population, Spanish officials deported Chinese residents back to China, aiming to maintain demographic control. And lastly, the Chinese were massacred every time they revolted. So revolts such as Sangli Rebellion in 1603 were met with brutal repression, resulting in the massacre of an estimated 20,000 local Chinese residents by Spanish and Allied forces. So next slide, please. So we also have here Francisco Laksamana. So who wants to read a slide? Yes, Igay.
Francisco Laksamana, the greatest Filipino hero of the Chinese revolts, commander of the Pampangueño troops in the Spanish army. He was appointed as the commander of Fort Santiago for 24 hours, the highest military honor given by Spain to a Filipino during the Spanish era.
All right, so all these Chinese revolts failed because the Filipinos sided with the Spaniards. So the greatest Filipino hero of the Chinese revolts was Francisco Laksamana. So he is a commander of the Pampangueño troops in the Spanish army. So he defeated the Chinese rebels in the hills of Antipolo in June 1662 and saved the city of Manila. So as a reward, Laksamana was made commander of Fort Santiago for 24 hours. So again, this was the highest military honor given by the Spain to a Filipino during the Spanish era. So next slide, please. Now, who wants to read the slide? Yes, Jade.
1574 pirate attack. Chinese pirate Lim Ah Hong attempted to seize Manila but was repelled with help from Filipino allies.
You can read all the slides, all the bullets, I mean.
Chase to Pangasinan. After failing in Manila, Li Am Hong retreated to Pangasinan where he established a base. Defeated and forced to leave, a combined force of Spanish and Filipino soldiers led by Juan de Salcedo besieged Lim Ah Hong's base for 4 months and leading to his retreat.
All right, so in 1574, when the Chinese pirate Lim Ah Hong invaded Manila, the Spaniards saved the city. So with the help of the Filipinos, later about 1,500 Filipino soldiers, including Lacandula and his sons, helped Marshal Juan de Salcedo drive away Lim Ah Hong from Pangasinan. So next slide, please. All right, so who wants to read the slide? Yes, Faith.
Filipinos and the Moro Wars. The Filipino Moros in Mindanao and Sulu were not conquered by Spain. The Christian Filipino heroes of these wars were as follows: Juan Aquino, Nicolas Martinez, Cirilo Maypit, Jeronimo Sundolin.
All right, thank you so much. So the word Moro in Spanish means a Muslim. So the Filipino Moros in Mindanao and Sulu were not conquered by Spain. So many times the Moros were defeated in battles, but they won the war in the end. So out of loyalty to Spain and the cross, the Christian Filipinos from Luzon and the Visayas fought against the Filipino Moros from those wars. So thousands of Christian Filipinos died in the battle. So they served as soldiers of seamen in all the Spanish expeditions against the Moros. So next slide, please. All right, so we also have Filipino Muslim heroes. So these are who defended Islam and Moro independence. Moro independence. So first we have Sultan Kudarat. So he is the greatest warrior of Mindanao who defended Lamitan against the Spaniards in 1637. Next we have Sultan Hamalul Alam who defended Jolo in 1876 and leased North Borneo or the Sabah to British in 1878. Third, we have Datu Uno. So he defended Cotabato in 1886 to 1887. Fourth, we have Datu Amay Pakpak who defended Lanao in 1889 to 1891. And lastly, we have Dana Plan or Amal Minka who conquered Cotabato and Tamuntaka in 1878 and 1899. So that ends chapter 8. So thank you so much for your participation, everyone.